What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the mini cut series. Today's video is all about my morning routine. I'm gonna take you guys through what I do first thing in the morning, from waking up through to preparing my meals and getting ready for the day ahead so that I can make sure I have every opportunity to stay in a calorie deficit. One of the biggest things I find when it comes to fat loss and dietary success is being prepared. So I'm gonna take you guys through some of the things that I do each and every day to make sure that by the end of the day, I'm hitting my macros and I'm staying in a calorie deficit. So I tend to roll out of bed anywhere between 6 and 8 a.m. depending on what day of the week it is. But the first thing I do when I get up is I come downstairs and I get stuck into some creatine, simply because that is the easiest way for me to remember to take it every single day. Now, research probably suggests the best time to take creatine is straight after you train. I often forget to take it at this time. So for me, the easiest way to make sure that I don't forget is to take it first thing in the morning. So I take Optimum Nutrition creatine. I aim for anywhere sort of between 5 and 10 grams per day. Just dilute it in a little bit of water. One of the most widely researched supplements on the market, so if you aren't taking it, definitely look into doing it. It is one of the most beneficial supplements you can ever hope to take when it comes to building strength and maintaining and building muscle. From there, I kickstart every single day with either 1 or 2 serves of Amino Energy. So Amino Energy is a BCAA supplement with a little bit of caffeine added into the mix. Now, apart from tasting absolutely delicious, it gives me a little bit of a kick first thing in the morning, particularly on those days I start at 6 a.m. The other added benefit this has, apart from the BCAAs, which can be really useful, research suggests, in the absence of adequate protein, i.e. if you are hitting your protein macros every single day, BCAAs aren't overly relevant, but first thing in the morning, because I haven't been eating for quite a while, it does have, I guess, some form of muscle sparing benefit. But the other thing for me is that it gets me drinking a lot of water first thing in the morning. Now, I can't speak highly enough of staying adequately hydrated. Just about every aspect of your life will improve when you drink plenty of water. So 1 serving of Amino Energy is 2 scoops. So what I'll do is I'll sip on this while I get some work done first thing in the morning between that sort of 6 to 8 a.m. time period. And from there, I'm then gonna think about getting stuck into the rest of my day. Typically, I find my brain functions the best first thing in the morning. So when it comes time to spending time on my business or creating things like writing new training programs, creating articles, writing emails, those sorts of things, I'll typically try and get done first thing in the morning. When the time comes, the first calories I consume are typically in the form of a protein shake. So Optimum Nutrition are just about to relaunch their Pure Pro line. I have a Pure Pro pretty much every single day, and sometimes I'll have 2. Protein shakes are quite simply a convenience food. What I like to use these for, particularly when I'm dieting, is to push my breakfast back. You could almost consider this a little bit of a modified version of intermittent fasting. This way, I get to push my breakfast back to sort of 11 or 12 without becoming overly hungry, but also look after maintaining muscle mass. So 9 o'clock, one of 2 things will have happened. On a Tuesday and a Thursday, we typically tend to go into the gym early because Beck has clients and I get some work done in the office. On those days, we'll then come home, Beck will go back to bed. Now is the time that I'll tend to write out the rest of my day inside my FitnessPal to make sure that what I'm gonna eat for the rest of the day is actually gonna allow me to hit my macros and in turn, allow me to maintain a calorie deficit. So I'll spend 5 to 10 minutes going through my FitnessPal and figuring out what I'm gonna eat. So what you guys will see here is our whiteboard where we often, at the start of the week, will figure out what it is we're gonna eat for dinner so that we can then plan the rest of our week accordingly. So every couple of days, I'm gonna be looking at cooking a bunch of staples just to make life a little bit easier in the future. So first thing in the morning is typically when I'll look at cooking things like chicken breast and baking pumpkin or sweet potato. Because both Beck and I are dieting at the moment, it's pumpkin more often than sweet potato, simply because there are fewer calories in it, we can eat more of it, more caloric bang for buck. Really don't like baking chicken breast because I find it goes really bland and really flavorless, even when I bake it with sauces. Most days, I will fry up the chicken for that day. I typically tend to use just a little bit of spray oil. I cut up a couple of chicken breasts, fry them up in the pan, and then quickly dice them up on a chopping board. Makes it very easy. From there, I simply weigh out the cooked amount because I've logged it in my FitnessPal as a cooked amount of food. Now, typically speaking, weighing your food raw will be far more accurate because the longer you tend to cook something, the lighter it becomes as moisture evaporates out of it. But typically, I cook my chicken more or less the same way every day. And the more consistent you are with the way that you log foods and the way that you cook them, the less room for error there is going to be. I use a little bit of spray oil to coat the pan, and no, I don't track this. If I was competing and considering getting on the stage, it's probably something that I would consider tracking, but because every single day I do this, I don't track it. It's another form of measurement and control that I can implement in the future if I feel like I actually need to do it. Okay, so while my chicken is cooking, what I'll typically tend to do then is make my breakfast for later on in the day. So at the moment, today is a low day, and I have 80 grams of oats. So in goes the water. Cook them for a minute. Casein is a slow digesting protein. By having the casein in my oats, it typically tends to keep me fuller. So while my chicken is cooking, typically also what I'll have done is prepared some pumpkin or sweet potato, as I mentioned earlier. Now, I didn't obviously cut any up today, but here is some that I prepared earlier. So now, basically, when I go to the fridge, I need to make a meal. I'll already have some staples, which I can just simply weigh out, throw in a Tupperware, and head off to work. So between the hours of 9 and 10, I'll do all of my food prep. I'll put all of my meals together for the rest of the day, excluding dinner, which we typically tend to cook once we get home from the gym late at night. And then typically around 10 o'clock, I'll head out, grab a coffee, and our day will commence. Now, when it comes to fat loss, you cannot overestimate the power of being organized. There are so many opportunities in any given day where you might find yourself picking at food or eating something that you maybe have to purchase and can't prepare yourself simply because you don't have access to the food that you need in order to hit your macros. So when it comes to losing fat, when it comes to maintaining a calorie deficit, it's super important that you prioritize the rest of your life accordingly. If losing fat is important to you, then so too should preparing your own food and actually giving yourself an opportunity to hit your macros and maintain a calorie deficit. If you enjoyed this video, guys, I'd very much appreciate you subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up for me. As always, I'm open to plenty of suggestions in the comment section below. Should you have an idea for another video, please stay tuned for more videos coming later on this week and for my full day of eating, which I'll be releasing within the next 7 days. Don't forget too, you can download my free Rapid Fat Loss Handbook via the link in the description section below. Until next time, guys, I'll see you then.